Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Welcome back to the lead-in. Now this is going to be slightly different to how it used to be, but because I am busy tomorrow when the game goes out, obviously I'm recording this on the day before, the video will come out obviously on the day of the game, early in the morning. Because I'm kind of busy on that day, I'm not going to be able to do my live stream, but obviously I didn't want to leave you guys without anything, so I'm going to be doing basically what we'd normally be doing on those live streams, but in a video on demand format. Now we'll get into my predicted lineup like I usually do, we'll get into the bingo like I usually do, which obviously I will have to kind of, I'll kind of have to tick off and post on the community tab after we do that. But yeah, and we'll just kind of talk about this game. Obviously it's a really big game as well, and it's kind of fun for a big game like this for me to be bringing back the lead in a slightly different way, at least. So without further ado, let's move in to the bingo card first and then the predicted lineups. Alright, so we have on the bingo card a few new things. Unfortunately, because of, again, me doing this on demand, I wasn't able to ask the guys on the Discord on game day for their kind of contributions here, but I've done some new things. We've got a lot of the normal things on here. Let's go through. Firstly, we have Baldy number 1 again. This is if Sanchez starts this game. Now, there's been rumours that he might be our number 1 again because of Jurgensen being used in the Conference League game recently. I don't think that that's particularly true. I think Jurgensen still has a good grasp on that number 1 spot, but we might see him return if we do this gets knocked off. Likewise, Lavia might return, Romeo Lavia, who's just come back from injury. I think that would be a very big boost for us, and spoiler alert, he might be in my starting 11. We get clean sheet, which is normally here. Good away support. We usually have good away support, and obviously this is at the Emirates, so we might be able to see that. Bob Marley chant goes hand in hand with this. We might get to see the Bob Marley chant. This is returning to the bingo card. It used to be on here, but I've kind of took it off now. It's come back. We've got one of the Gabes. Now, this is for if one of Arsenal's many Gabriels score a goal. Obviously, Jesus is not available, which I'll get onto later. But Martinelli and Gabriel at the back could score goals. If they do that, this gets ticked off. We have last week's scapegoat as usual. Caicedo clean tackle punished as usual. Game of two halves as usual. An unlikely goal scorer as usual. Player booked for descent as usual. El Pinguino player of the match. Now, I've got a sneaky suspicion that Cucurella could have a very good game here, and with his current form and being so influential on our games, not only with his passion and his drive and his kind of industry, but also his now goal scoring, which has been a thing that he's been doing quite a lot. I think he's really could get player of the match here. We have the free space, obviously, Maresca ball in full flow as usual, rest/VAR mistake as usual. We have James goal/assist. Again, that's just for if James gets a goal or assist. Worldy, this is for if any player on the pitch scores an absolute worldy. Campeón del Mundo is again for Enzo Fernandez, the world champion. If he gets a goal or assist, that gets ticked off. Correct prediction, this is for if my prediction at the end of the game, or the end of this video, the score prediction is correct. Set piece goal, self-explanatory. We have mono on vacation. Now this one's funny. So we usually have a mono on some kind of, or mono in some kind of country for whether the camera flips upside down for Australia or if it freezes for Iceland, for example. Because I'm not going to be here this week, I thought we'd give ourselves a freebie and have mono on vacation where I'm not there. We have Palmer breaks his duck and Palmer 2+ goal/assist again. It would be very much like Cole Palmer with this poor form he's in to come up with a goal in a big game like this. We saw him do it quite often when he was playing under Pochettino. He could very well do it again here, and hopefully that kind of gets his confidence up, and then we might be able to see him get more than just the goal. I think he'll kind of, I think he'll have a good game. I think that he's the type of player that would rise to this occasion. We also have Nkunku better. This is usually on here. This is just if Christopher Nkunku plays better than he has been, because he usually doesn't play quite well for us. And spoiler alert again, I think he will be in the starting 11 again this game day. So hopefully he improves. And finally, we have a win, because it's not very likely, but we could do it. And if we do, that gets ticked off as well. Now we're going to move on to the predicted lineups here, but I will do some injury news first for both teams. For Arsenal, Takahiro Tomiyasu, Bukayo Saka, ex-Blue Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus are all out injured, and Raheem Sterling, who was decent in the game versus PSV, let's not be too harsh on him, despite his poor form this season, he's ineligible to play against his parent club. Gabriel Martinelli is likely to return from his hamstring injury though, which could be a big boost for Arsenal considering how how their attack has not been the greatest in recent times, other than that one PSV game. For Chelsea, unavailable are Jackson, Guiu and Madueke, who should all be back after the international break. Mudryk, who is still suspended. Omari Kellyman, who has a lack of fitness despite coming back from injury recently. And Malagusto, who will be a doubt after a small ankle knock. I don't think that he'll be back in time for this game. Personally, he might make the bench. I don't think he'll start though. That being said, Wesley Fofana and Romeo Lavia, as I've mentioned earlier, have returned from injury and could feature here. So, with that being said, let's get into the predicted lineup for Chelsea. Now, I think that this is a bit of a stretch, I will say immediately. I think this is a bit of a more of a hope than an actual prediction. I think most of these will be correct, but there will be a few players that are kind of bit of a surprise to be in here, I would suggest. But this is kind of what I want to see. Firstly, I think up in goal, I want to see Jurgensen. I think that's quite clear from the amount of mistakes that Sanchez has made and the amount of mistakes that Sanchez has made in big games as well. I don't think that he deserves to be playing here today. I think Jurgensen really hasn't put much of a foot wrong since he's been in the team recently, so he starts for the right back. It's a player that didn't feature in the Conference League game. It's Reece James, our captain. He has to play for a big game like this, doesn't he? He really does. And again, especially with Gabriel Martinelli coming back, he'll probably play on that left-hand side if he doesn't play in the false nine, kind of top striker position. He will be able to lock him up pretty well. For the two centre-backs, we have the common pairing that we used to see before we went on that terrible run when Fofana was injured. He's now back, and he played very, very well in the last game that he played in the league, so he comes back into the team alongside his partner, Levi Colwill, that is, who has just been called up to the England squad, as has James. Next to him is El Penguino. We've spoke about him earlier. Marc Cucurella will start on the left-hand side. Now, this back four is very interesting because one thing you'll notice is that there is not three players that can play in that kind of three centre-back system. We usually see kind of a three centre-back system with us, whether that be one of the centre-backs pushing out wide and one of our full-backs inverting. Sometimes we have seen James play in that third centre-back role, but I will suggest that I don't think that's particularly what we will kind of see. I think we're going to go back to a bit more of a normal back four in this game and see both of those two getting a bit higher if they can. Now, the reason why I've done that is because the midfield is very, very packed for me. And even though we usually see James kind of invert into the midfield, and we've had a lot of conversation about James playing in midfield recently, I think this is a return. And maybe it seems a bit too early, but Badiashile came back immediately after his injury, so did Fofana. I reckon Romeo Lavia will do the same thing. I think that we really, really need him for this game, especially considering how good Arsenal are at pressing. Even though they do like to sometimes sit back and absorb pressure, they will, in the first phase of play, they will try and step on you, and Lavia is so good at getting away from that pressure. It's the one thing he is absolutely superb at. He's basically one of the best players in the league at doing that, and that will really aid us to get through this game. I think he's so important for the way that Maresca wants to play football in general, and not having him recently is part of the reason why our form has been ducking. Him coming back would be a massive boost for us. He might just be on the bench, but I would start him if he's fit. That means that the two players that are going to be playing next to him are actually Moises Caicedo, who's not in the six, in this kind of like initial kind of lineup I'm going to be putting out here. Though I think Lavia and he shall kind of mix up and kind of rotate around. We've seen Lavia play a little bit higher sometimes in the kind of 8. Obviously, I think Caicedo is more suited to playing as an 8, but we know how good Caicedo's been, how good form he's been in. And obviously, on the opposite side, that means Enzo Fernandez also comes back in. Now, he didn't play versus he didn't play the full 90 anyway versus Copenhagen in the reverse fixture, so I think he will 100% start here, which gives me a big gap here, because where is Cole Palmer? Well, Cole Palmer I think is going to be moved onto this right-hand side now, in my lineup anyway. Now, the reason why he's playing here, and I think this won't be where he kind of stays, and we'll talk about how the team shifts around in a little bit here, but I think Palmer will start up top with Neto as the false 9. We've been seeing Pedro Neto play as the false 9 in a lot of our games recently. He's been doing very, very well there. And regrettably, I'm going to be putting Nkunku on this left-hand side. Now, a bit of a weird one here, not having Jadon Sancho, who is more of a natural winger. But as I said, when I move the team around into what I kind of think we'll see in the actual game, it kind of makes a bit more sense. Now, as I kind of alluded to earlier with the backline not staying the same, I think it's very, very... I think it's quite apparent that what we will see in this game is that Cucurella will be moving into midfield or moving up in some way, right? We'll see the 3 at the back here with James playing here. He can definitely play here. And with Lavia's inclusion, this makes it a little bit more safe for him to do this, right? We usually see this kind of diamond in midfield sometimes when we rotate, and what I expect us to see is Lavia and Cucurella playing in these kind of midfield roles with Enzo and Caicedo playing a bit further up. Now, Caicedo obviously is not a 10, so I don't think he's going to play strictly in a 10 role like Palmer would if he was playing here. I think he's going to be more of an 8, and we kind of see this move where Enzo is kind of roaming across the face as the 10, with Caicedo more as a box-to-box 8. Cucurella obviously playing in this role, but not only getting here, and this is the important part about this, is that I don't think he's going to strictly play in this kind of midfield role and kind of get into these annoying positions where he usually likes to do. I think he is going to be overlapping Nkunku, with Nkunku dropping a bit more central, and we can kind of see him playing as this wide player, Enzo as this left 8, and Nkunku in the 10. Now, these 3 players here, Palmer, Neto, and Nkunku, can all rotate very, very well into these 3 positions. And we've seen with Neto how he's been playing in this false 9 position is that he doesn't stay central. He drifts to the right-hand side and allows Palmer to kind of take up his positions. We obviously know that Palmer, the way that he likes to operate is to get the ball on his left foot, cut inside, and move more centrally. So I think what we'll actually kind of see more in the actual game is a kind of structure of Cucurella playing as this high and wide left player, and then Nkunku and Palmer playing as these kind of 2 false 9s, as we've kind of seen work against Arsenal in the past under Mauricio Pochettino. We've seen this kind of thing happen with Neto playing as this wide player after we kind of play the ball through. Now, another thing we could see here, and we've seen it very, very few times in the past, but we have seen it in the past, is Caicedo playing more as a kind of wingy right wing back type role and kind of getting high on this right hand side. If Palmer's kind of gone inside and Neto is still here, we can kind of see him come around here. Don't think that will happen very often as he's so good as a defensive player, and I think that for the most part we will see these 2 kind of play as a back 2 or 2 6s, with Enzo getting high alongside Palmer or Neto or Nkunku, whoever's in this role. And obviously with Neto moving to this right hand side, it kind of opens up the space and it drags the centre backs out of position. It's really, really hard for a centre back to track a player like Neto, who is starting central but then moving out wide. We can kind of see this happen. And even if Cucurella doesn't get into this high left kind of position that I've theorized here, he could obviously just play in this kind of left 10. We've seen him play here before, and Nkunku could play off the left, even though that's a little bit less efficient. And then we can have Palmer on the right hand side like this. As I said, this is just a kind of this is all dependent on whether Lavia plays, because I think this really moves around the team with Lavia in it, because if he's fit enough to start, he will 100% start, in my opinion. He is so imperative to this team, and we've seen that when he has been fit. Every single time he has been fit, he's played. So I think that this is something we could see. Obviously, James is a question mark as well, but because he didn't play in the Copenhagen game, I think he's 100% starting here. What we could see, this is another kind of prediction. What we could see is if Lavia isn't fit enough, we probably see him come out. We see another centre back come into the team, a la Chalobah, maybe Tosin. And what we see with him going out and a centre back coming in is Caicedo and James playing as the 2 in midfield. Fofana kind of playing in this hybrid right centre back, the centre back / right back role we kind of saw him play against Leicester and was very, very good at. Obviously, he has the pace to get up and down, has the aggression to kind of push up and try and win the ball in transition, etc, etc. So that's what we could see as well. But I think this is a full strength team, and again, in this such a big game against Arsenal, I think that this is something we really, really have to do in order to get some kind of result here. I don't think us winning this game is particularly likely. However, I will be going to my score prediction here. I think that I'm going to predict a 2-1 victory for Chelsea. I don't think this game is going to be very high scoring. I think both teams have been rather toothless at times. Again, barring that kind of 7-1 thrashing of PSV, I don't think Arsenal have got the best kind of attacking lineup, and they don't have Sterling now because he can't play against us. I think we've been a team that, despite not scoring many goals, I don't think the reason we've been losing games and our form has been bad recently is because we're not scoring a lot of goals. It's more so because we keep letting leads go because we've been making so many defensive mistakes. Now, with a stronger backline / defensive midfield, with Lavia coming back in, Fafana coming back in, James being fit, and Cucurella being so in such good form, I think that we will kind of get some of those mistakes out. And again, especially with Sanchez not playing, if Sanchez plays, maybe that's a bit more of a risk that we kind of see those mistakes happening because he is liable to do that type of thing. But I think just getting rid of those kind of defensive lapses of concentration will kind of aid us well in this game. We've seen from our recent form, we've won our last 4, and though they have been against weaker opposition, let's not act like they haven't been. You can only beat what's in front of you, and we've been beating them very comfortably in the fact that we've been getting ahead and then staying ahead. Now, as I like to do on the live streams, I'll throw out a few stats for this game because I think that some of these are quite interesting. Arsenal are without a win in their last 3 Premier League matches, which bodes well for us. They only have 2 wins from their last 7 in all comps, which again bodes well for us. But, however, Arsenal have never lost successive London derbies at home ever since they moved to the Emirates in 2006, right? But that could very well become a reality with a win here for Chelsea, as they lost their last game to West Ham 1-0 at home. So there's a lot of kind of stories going into this game which we could see play out. Personally, I think that Arsenal are 100% the favourites to win this game. I think that we are not quite at their level in terms of the fact that we've got so many kind of players out, and they have their injuries too. That's why I think this game is a lot more close than it would be. If they were full strength here, I don't think we stood a chance. But because they are kind of weakened, even though we are also weakened with not having Jackson, not having Madueke, that type of thing, I think that we stand a little bit of a chance. I think this game's going to be much closer than most people think because of the way that the two teams play. The thing which I find interesting about this particular fixture is that Arsenal are a team that, as I spoke about earlier, despite them liking to press up and try and kind of control games and play that slow, methodical football that we also like to play, they do like to at times sit back in a really stubborn back 4 with those 4 centre backs, as we always kind of talk about, and make it really difficult for teams to kind of break them down. Now, we've struggled against teams doing that, but in recent times, even though we've struggled against breaking them down, we have eventually found the breakthrough, and recently at least we've been able to hold on to those types of leads. If Arsenal play this way, I think it doesn't play into our hand because it's something we've been struggling against, but what I think we should do, and I don't really get to talk about tactics very much with these types of things anymore, but when I do my tactical breakdowns, I can. I think it would serve us very, very well if we try not to play the style of football that we have been playing with that slow kind of passing around, trying to break down these low blocks that we might see Arsenal do. I think it would serve us better if we were to be the team that does that and try and break on Arsenal. We've seen how good we are in transition. It's basically the one thing that this team has always been good at, regardless of personnel. We have been so good at transitioning when we are under pressure and we win the ball back with either Caicedo or Lavia or whoever's in this midfield, or we will win an aerial duel, for example, and break up the pitch with players like Palmer and Neto, and Cucurella, who loves getting up the pitch as well. We see us have more successful attacks doing that. So maybe we see a lot of that in this game. Obviously, Arsenal are a team that loves to keep possession. So if they play that way and do try and kind of break us down, we could benefit from that. It really depends on who gets the most possession in this game, I think. And it sounds funny and sounds kind of backwards, but most of the time it's the team that gets the most possession, usually, even though there are exceptions to the rule, usually the team that gets the most possession is the team that's kind of on top, and usually they're the team that kind of wins. I think it's going to be the opposite in this game. I think whichever one of these teams has the least amount of possession will be the team that creates the most chances, because of just how the style of two teams they are. Now, as I said, I think this game, if this is quite an optimistic prediction for Chelsea, I think we'll win this game 2-1 if we do win it. I think the game will be much closer than people kind of expect. I think it will be, we'll kind of be able to pull out a shock victory if we do win this. And I think if we do win this, it will be a shock victory. I don't think we're kind of expected to win here. I think if I'm predicting less biasly, I would say that a draw, a low scoring draw, is something that we could 100% see here. Obviously, Arsenal have drawn loads of games as of late, though when I spoke about it earlier with them only having 2 wins in the last 7, most of those games in their last 7 are draws, so we could see a draw. I think that's more realistic. I'm going to be optimistic and predict my team to win, and we could pull out that shock victory and secure us closer to that top 4 qualification and get the Champions League football that we deserve next season. However, now we have a little bit more of a cushion. With I'm pretty sure it's now confirmed that top 5 will guarantee us Champions League football as well, because of the amount of English teams that have gone through in the UEFA competitions. But yes, as always, we'll have to wait and see whether Chelsea can make that a reality or not come Sunday. But if you can't wait until then, perhaps check out this video in the meantime. Thank you guys so much for watching as ever, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.